Sheriff Carter is like rubbing my belly, and whenever Colin would rub my belly in the scene, my little boy would kick. Like on cue, it didn't matter how many takes we did. Whenever he rubbed my belly, Dre was kicking, right? And that was it was actually written into the scene. But he was actually really kicking every time. So if you see that, and we're acting like we're not acting, he's kicking.
Only actor in the cast who always got his cue right.
Oh my gosh, I just love the fight scenes with Allison. Like, I think I was a stunt person in a former life, and actually it's working, having Sally direct the episode when Sally played Beverly was just a gift to watch her strut down the hallway, and just the gift of going to Vancouver, because Beverly was a recurring role. I had a lot of time off, so I got to dog sled, salmon fish.
Oh, she's ridiculous. That was in one weekend. Every single day, I said, what'd you do? Oh, I deep sea fishing. Oh, I climbed a mountain. Oh, I built a train.
So those real life moments it was a gift.
The first day that I went up to Vancouver to work on Eureka, I got there a day before I was actually supposed to be in production, and I went to a table read with the rest of the cast. And I had watched the hell out of the show, so I knew who everybody was from their characters, but I didn't really know who everybody was as a person. And I walked into the studio, and Colin was walking down from his dressing room, and I was like, Sheriff Carter. And Colin comes over and he hugs me and he says, I'm so glad that you're here. We're so happy that you're on the show. Welcome. We're going to have such a good time. And he was absolutely right. And it was that moment of being immediately welcomed into a family that had been together for so many years, for so many hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, and made to feel like I got to play on the starting line with everybody else, was really super awesome. And Colin didn't have to do that. And now that I know him, I know that that's the kind of person Colin is. But the person who is like, the number one guy in the call sheet sets the tone for the rest of the show. And Colin created that with me, and I could not wait to get back to the set when I wrapped every single day because of that. And it was just a great place to be.
Incidental side story, my dressing room that I was walking from is a 4-story building, which is one of those, no.
I will say that actually, it's more of a personal thing for me, which is that my family, my wife, Dr. Kristen Talia, who is right over here, with my kids Zoe and Ian, they made it possible. Christy actually had to have a real job while I was being a writer, and until I actually finally got a paying gig. And my kids have actually not really known a time in their lives that Eureka didn't exist. When we shot the pilot, Zoe was barely 3 and Ian was, barely 1. And I think that we've all gotten to enjoy the show and the whole process together. So they're my favorite fans. Love you guys.
Maybe this is one of those things you hesitate to talk about, but are there any plans for a type of Eureka spin-off?
Honestly,
Yes. Parrish, Holly, and Fargo travel around the American Southwest in a van solving crimes.
That's pretty much it right there. That's it. I was in those conversations with Sci-Fi, and I do have a concept that I think everybody thought was, potentially interesting. I've got other things that I'm also kind of more excited about just at the moment. This is such a sort of nice time to have this entity exist and take a breather, and then we'll see. We'll see.
Can you guys give us any clues in on the season finale of your? I mean, just
a starship.
Everybody's like, where'd Dr. Parrish go? The last thing you hear him say is, I feel strange, but also good.
And as Colin has said in other interviews, his death scene is just so emotional.
I've never seen more blood. There is someone who comes back to help us out.
That's a good tease. There will be and there will be at least one other surprise guest appearance from, a cameo of someone who's
Bill Clinton,
friend of our show. That's it. It's Bill Clinton. And we spoiled that one. Thanks.
Well, that really helped me out. So.
Good. That was so genuine. I'm so touched that he actually put up with all of that.
So during the body swapping episode, you got to play a bunch of different characters. Who is your favorite character to play, and then why? And also everybody, who is the favorite swap?
Yeah, probably Fargo, because he's so weird. Like playing other people is like, it's like playing a person. Playing a Fargo is like playing a toy. Because he's sort of half man, half Muppet, really. All the time, and that's really fun to play.
This question's for Jamie. One of my favorite characters in the series, or like background characters, I guess, is Vincent. And I was wondering if there was any plans to make his story or character any bigger, and if not, can you give us some insight into Vincent?
Chris Gauthier, who plays Vincent, is amazing. He's a really amazing actor, dramatically as well as comedically. The reality is that we had a cast with 9 major regular series members, and then a number of supporting cast members who kind of became regulars on the show, like Vincent. And whenever he's in a scene, I think he's great. We always wanted to have an episode that was going to be about Vincent and into his backstory, into his personal life more. And there are a couple of episodes coming up where he plays more prominently. It doesn't necessarily explore him as in depth as I think we would have loved to have had the opportunity to do. But it's sometimes it's just about practicality of the cast that you have to work with.
And marching orders too, because the network they would never sign off on a Vincent episode.
We were able to do some things in the last couple of seasons that they never would have let us do early on. And, the episode that I wrote for Colin's directorial debut, Your Face or Mine, where that had Erica Chera, really is the lead in that episode so that we could free Colin up to do the directing and not have to be in every scene. That took some convincing because everybody, you sort of feel like, well, if Carter's not in every scene, then, the show's going to fall apart. And Colin's been incredibly gracious and supportive of the other cast, having more time actually on screen as well. And I think
one way of phrasing it.
he's really lazy and he doesn't want to work, so we have to do something to fill the time. But that, especially, I think that was a turning point where we were allowed to sort of tell the stories in a slightly different way, where we could have real A and B and sometimes C stories that were separate from Colin having to be in every one of them.
Is there any moments that you had trouble maintaining your composure, or at least more specifically, what's your favorite moment? If you had something that was just an impossible line to deliver without cracking up, or a moment, or something similar to that?
For me, it was working with Matt Frewer. That weirdo. Every time. And, the script is sort of a loose guideline for Matt. He's always remember this thing we were doing he was doing goose calls or duck calls. He would just yell like in the middle of the line. He's the guy who I have a tough time with.
Was he naked for that?
Was he naked?
That was Purple Haze. He was naked for the Purple Haze.
That was a joy. Carrying Matt's naked body and putting it down in the sheriff's station. He outweighs me.
A lot. The funny thing about Matt is that you don't actually have to be naked, Matt. It's okay. He said, no, I'd rather be naked.
When we shot Mites and Men, Erica and Niall and Flea Felicia and Neil and I were in this little isolation chamber thing for 2 full days of production, and it was photographed with a wide-angle lens, so it looks a lot bigger than it actually was. It was really, it was tiny, and to maintain our composure in there, we just kept making those origami cranes, just over and over and over again. And then Felicia, kids cover your ears, started making origami dicks. And one of the reasons there's a line, somebody says, I think it's saying, says one of Parrish's cranes looks like a duck. Actually, because that actually came up as I was trying to make a crane, and I kept having so much trouble with that piece at the end, and we all got really competitive with who was going to make the best crane, and I made one where the head of it was just looked like a duck, and I was like, look at this one, and now goes, that looks like a duck, and that ended up in the script, ended up on screen.
That's a real test, by the way, that they do. That is part of the astronaut training thing. We use that because it's like, can you, over a really long period of time, have your first one be as good as your last one? And it needs that you have to kind of focus and concentration. And we just thought, well, that's brilliant. We have to work that into the story.
Thank you.
Hey, Harmony, you came. Hey, we were talking to you guys earlier. Mike and Harmony, guys, what you say?
Colin, as a New York Islander fan, and we haven't made the playoffs in recent memory, I feel your pain as a Habs fan of not making the playoffs this year.
I think we were the 3rd worst team in the league. Was that at the end of the season? Yeah.
Well, the Maple Leafs.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And the Islanders.
Yeah.
I love the episodes where Area 51 comes to play various sports with Jeannie. If there was a hockey game, who would win, and what would be the nastiest hit on the ice?
Is this pre-Stark or post-Stark?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Alternate universe Stark. He's back.
All right, we'll win.
Yeah, by like 12 goals. And Parrish gets a game misconduct halfway through the first period. He is it just not even for anything that he does on the ice. He's just so annoyed with everyone.
He's in the stands.
Yeah.
I live in a small town in New Mexico where they're actually going to build an actual Eureka. I think I told Colin.
Yeah, the Pegasus company.
The Pegasus company is actually going to build an actual science town, like a 20 square mile town outside of my town. And I was just wondering.
You'll be safe. Don't worry.
I was just like, I just wanted to make sure you're not going to be there. You know, testing. I just wanted to know what you guys thought about actually a conglomerate, $1 billion conglomerate, actually making a town based off of science and, discovery. Pretty much based off of your guys' show.
I think it's amazing. I mean, what we were talking about today, they're going to be trying to do wireless electricity.